A delicate ceasefire agreement hangs in the balance as Israel and Hamas accuse one another of violating the terms of the agreement. CTV National News' Scott Hurst joins us live with this latest development. What are the latest numbers on hostages and Palestinians released, Scott?
Lena, first, as you mentioned, there are reports in northern Gaza that there are some clashes this morning, which goes at odds against this deal, which now kicks off the two-day extension, and we're expecting 10 additional hostages to be released today. That's on top of the 50 Israeli women and children who've been released, along with 19 other foreign hostages. And in total, in exchange for that, there have been 150 Palestinian prisoners released by Israel. That was part of the original four-day agreement. Now today kicks off the two-day extension that we saw in this temporary pause in fighting, this temporary truce that has also allowed for much more humanitarian aid to get into the region. However, it is still a fraction of what is needed with this ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza. It's always been a very fragile, a very tentative deal that these two sides can come to a pause in the fighting to allow for an exchange of hostages and prisoners and allow for more aid to get into the region. And now there are talks still underway about potentially extending this even further. However, that could be incredibly difficult. Israel has vowed to resume the war against Hamas, to destroy Hamas. Once it's clear no more hostages will be freed. Now, Hamas, according to Qatar, which has been crucial in brokering this deal, says they're looking to continue this pause in fighting, according to Qatar, but that's contingent on Hamas and its ability to continue to provide 10 hostages per day. And there are many reports that Hamas is not even holding all of the hostages, so it could get quite difficult to continue this agreement much further than the 2 days. But talks are ongoing at this time with the Qataris, the Americans, the Egyptians, between Israel and Hamas, leading to hopefully continue this pause in fighting. But at the moment, we're expecting the release of 10 more hostages today and 10 more tomorrow, which will take us to Wednesday. And if it can be continued beyond that, negotiators are still working to a new deadline to potentially extend this truce.
And Scott, while I have you, if we can just pick up on the latest development, get a little bit more information. We know that Israel and Hamas are both accusing each other of violating the ceasefire. Can you give us a sense of what the two sides are saying?
Yeah, there apparently had been some fighting in northern Gaza today, the two sides accusing each other of breaking this tentative ceasefire, which appears at this time still continues to hold despite some clashes in the region. So both sides are accusing each other of breaking the deal, of going against the deal because of some of the clashes that have taken place already today. But at the moment, it still appears this deal may be holding. We're awaiting the next release of hostages, which will kick off this two-day extension. But at the time, very tentative, very fragile, and we just now wait to see if these exchange of hostages and prisoners will continue at this point to start this two-day additional truce.
Fragile indeed. CTV's Scott Hurst reporting live. Thank you for this, Scott.